Salutations, readers. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Nkechi, and today I'm going to talk about all the media that I have consumed for winter 2026. I'm trying a new format here of recording my wrap-ups through StreamYard and then just uploading the videos onto YouTube. I don't really feel like editing because, honestly, I'm getting close to the middle of the semester and I really don't have the actual time to film these wrap-ups, edit the wrap-ups, and have them uploaded and ready for y'all to see and like in a timely manner. It's just not in the cards for me right now. So this is just the best way I'm going to do it. And also, I do have a Google slideshow to go over all the books that I've read, the movies that I've watched. I didn't really watch so much TV, so I'm not really going to talk about TV. So, yeah. And as far as how school is going, just in case any of y'all were curious about that, school has actually been going better now, at least this week, than it has been the past several weeks. So it started off optimistic, and then I started to feel really anxious. And then this week, I decided to use my campus resources to learn more about like my actual struggles. I sought out for counseling and recently got into therapy. So I'm starting in the right direction and I'm going to keep on those habits, taking those tips and tricks that I've learned from counseling and therapy. Now, granted, this is only like one appointment for each, but the goal is to continue on with that for weeks to come because spring break is actually upon me pretty soon. So, and also after spring break, I won't really get much an actual break from school. So I need to make sure that I am well prepared to continue on with school and stuff. So, yeah. Sorry, something in my throat. But yeah, that's pretty much how school's been going. As far as reading wise, I did read a lot more than I thought I would. Not gonna lie, I did not expect myself to read as much as I did. Y'all will find out pretty soon, actually, when we get to the slideshow, as far as like the media that I've actually consumed. Because wow, I really had no idea I could read that many books while being in school. But anyways, without further ado, let's just get right into it. So here's a Google slide of media I consumed for winter 2026. And we're going to start with 3 reading stats. So first up in January, I do have a picture courtesy to Storygraph here. I have read 5 books, read 186 pages, listened to 35.82 hours, and my average rating was a 4.45. I actually really enjoyed, actually not just enjoyed, I basically just nearly loved every single book I have read in January. And 5 books for the month of January is a lot. I really thought I would only manage to read like 2 or 3 books in January, which honestly, it's truly amazes me. And I did have an average time to finish about 10 days for every book. Yeah, and they pretty much all of them were audiobooks. At least I tracked them all via audio. Even though I have like actual like pages, whether it's physical or digital. I wasn't much into like an eyeball reading. Not gonna lie, it was not much of an eyeball reading month. However, for February, I did read 4 books with 503 pages, 34.17 hours, and my average reading was at 3.56. So little bit of a decrease as far as the number of books. I did read more with my eyes. I pretty much listened to just about the same amount of audiobook hours, but my average rating was lower because I just found less books that could be new favorites. It took me about 6 days to finish these books. These books were a little bit longer. Okay, sorry about that. The dog was being very loud, and I kind of forgot my train of thought. I think it was about February. Yes. So let's see. I did read a physical book in February. Yeah, it was the last book I finished. Yeah. So yeah, pretty much for the past 2 months, I pretty much totaled to about 9 books, which is way more than I thought I would. Now I don't know about the average rating between the 2 months and the number of pages. I'm not going to do all that math, but I did read 9 books total, January through February, and that is way more than I ever thought I would for this year at this point of the year. I thought I would be reading 9 books by like the end of March. So I'm pretty much am on track, I think, to read probably around 50 books this year, which is way more than I thought I would. I really thought I might read like 40 books. And you know what? It's very plausible that I might just end up the end of the year at 40 books, but first 2 months I'm at 9 is pretty good. And that's pretty much about a book a week. That's about a book a week. And not gonna lie, I'm actually quite satisfied with that. I think a book a week is manageable, especially for the amount of coursework I have for my classes, but also for the fact that I just know I need to read for myself and not for school. So I think this is a very good pace, especially since a lot of it is via audio. I mean, I've only managed to finish one book that I had to read with my eyes. But yeah, it's a lot of audiobooks, slightly hybrid reading, but really just reading books via audio. Besides that, I need to tell y'all about the books I did not finish, and I'll go by month. So for January, the first book I DNF'd was Psychopomp and Circumstance by Eden Royce. This is a novella that came out in 2025. I think I borrowed as an ebook, and I did not. Sorry. And I also did not finish it. I think about a third of the way through. I was just not much of a fan of this one. And then also The Door on the Sea by Caskey Russell. This is a first book in a series. I think it's written by an Indigenous author. I was curious about this one. This one also came out in 2025. I think Psychopomp and Circumstance. It's not the author's first foray into writing, but I think Russell here with The Door on the Sea, I think that one is a debut novel. So hoping for more, but honestly, I just couldn't really be bothered with either one of these books at all. They just didn't work for me as far as writing styles and like characters. I just couldn't care any less. Now, February, I did DNF way more in February. First book was Lucky Sea by Justinian Huang. I really thought I would really enjoy this one. I have been curious to read another book by Huang since The Emperor and the Endless Palace. I think I could have enjoyed Lucky Seed a little bit more, but also I was kind of getting a little bit bored because I actually initially read it as a physical book from my library, and then I had to return it, and then I was able to get the audiobook. And when I got the audiobook, I really could not care any less about what was going on. So I was like, okay, this is just not it for me. So yeah, this was definitely a hard DNF. And then we have Eternal Ruin by Tikas Gurma. This is the sequel to Immortal Dark. And not gonna lie, I just also couldn't. I wasn't really in the mood for a YA fantasy like this one. I do plan to get back into it. I did pre-order the book, so I do need to give it more of another shot before I really give up on this series. But I am hopeful that I'll get back into it, and hopefully I can continue on the series. If not, then I'll have to unhaul it as well as Immortal Dark, because I'm not going to unhaul the sequel and then keep the first book. I'm just not like that. So I hope to get back into it. If I don't get back to it in another like month or so, then I think I'll have to unhaul the series. That's just how my brain is. Then we have Disability Intimacy, Essays on Love, Care, and Desire, edited by the late Alice Wong. If you don't know, Alice Wong unfortunately passed, I think, towards the end of 2025. I can't remember if it was November or December, but yeah, it was now been a few months now. And I've actually put this book on pause since last summer, so I haven't been able to really pick it up in a good long minute. However, it is definitely an essay collection that I plan to get back into, because I was very much interested and invested in these essays. I just didn't have, I just wasn't in the mood for it at the time to read an essay collection from various contributors. So my plan for 2026 is I think I'm going to read Disability Visibility first, and then Disability Intimacy. I think I'm going to read those anthologies, collections, in publication order. Not because of the fact that you need to read Disability Visibility before Disability Intimacy, but I just think for just my brain and the connective tissue, I think that's how I'm going to do it. And also, I did purchase a physical copy of Disability disability visibility this year. So I'm gonna keep that energy, and this is definitely a book I plan to come back to for sure. In fact, I think I'm gonna purchase a physical copy of Disability Intimacy. I'm really here for this essay anthology for sure, especially in honor of Alice Wong. Next up, we have The Raven Tower by Nkechi. I think this one is more of, I think, of a format issue and also a timing issue, because I really was not in the mood for this story. It's split. It has section breaks. It doesn't actually have chapters, and it's also written in the perspective of a god who is a rock. So also I don't get much of like the actual like human connection. So emotionally it was very distant. So I feel as though it would be best for me to read The Raven Tower with my eyeballs, whether it's physical. Well, actually probably not physical because it's a long book. But I do think I should get the ebook on this one, and then take my time with it. But I need to be in the mood for it, and I didn't like the writing style. I just need to like lock in, and I just couldn't lock in at the time. Next, we have Hazel Thorne by C.G. Drews. Unfortunately, this is definitely more of a hard DNF. This is young adult horror, and honestly, it was feeling more like a murder mystery, and I was not in the mood for it like at all. I just could not care any less about this book, which is unfortunate because I did read Don't Let the Forest In, and Don't Let the Forest In and Hazel Thorne both have the same audiobook narrator, Michael Crouch. And I really do like Michael Crouch's narration, but I really was not here for the voice of the main character in Hazel Thorne versus the main character's voice in Don't Let the Forest In. I prefer Don't Let the Forest In more so than Hazel Thorne, even though I think the vibes are relatively similar, but I couldn't care about the characters like at all for Hazel Thorne. So that's very much a hard DNF. And this next DNF does pay me to say, but I did DNF The Isle in the Silver Sea by the Tasha Suri. I don't know, y'all. This is a standalone. It's sapphic. It's fantasy romance. It's part of the Lady Night trend that it's the big books of Lady Night books that came out last year. And it really did not work for me. I put this book on pause for a good long minute, and I only returned it for two reasons. One, I got it as an arc from Orbit, and then also I was button reading it with Nat and Julie. Unfortunately, this did not work for me. I was not here for the actual romance between Vina and Cimarron, like at all. I didn't care for their characters. I didn't care much of the world. I just didn't care for it. I liked Tasha Suri's writing. It definitely reminded me of the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, but I wasn't here for the characters as much, which is very much unfortunate. Because I was really invested in the characters in the Burning Kingdoms, not just the main characters of the Burning Kingdoms trilogy, but also the side characters. The side characters were very memorable to me. And The Isle in the Silver Sea, the main characters were just okay. And then the side characters, I just couldn't care anymore, which I think is just indicative when you have a standalone book versus a series. Because in a series, you can move around multiple characters, but even a standalone, you can do that too. But yeah, I didn't care for the side characters in this one. So the characters weren't wow me. The world building was okay. And the romance, I didn't get too far into it. I think I got like 25% before I DNF'd it. And that was when I also used one of my last Libro FM credits to get the audiobook, because I know the audiobook narrator is also the same for the Burning Kingdoms trilogy. So that also didn't, I mean, it benefited me for sure to get my attention, but also I couldn't even carry anymore. I couldn't even carry anymore, which really sucks. But yeah, this one was indeed a very hard DNF. And as you can see here for February, I DNF'd 6 books. There's a lot. I did try to see if I can like finish certain books, or if I held on a book too long, then I'm like, okay, I need to kind of DNF it so I don't feel pressure to come back into it. And that's pretty much this case for Eternal Ruin and Disability Intimacy. The other 4 books were whether library or I had pause for so. I mean, also I forgot The Isle in the Silver Sea was also paused for a long time. So yeah, half of these books were paused for a long time. The other half were library books. Now let's actually get into the books that I have read in January. First up is Mind of My Mind by the Octavia E. Butler. This is the second book in the Patternist series, and I did read this for the Interstellar Book Club. Now, this sequel, publication-wise, is also published as the second book in the series. I think Wild Seed was the last book to be published, even though chronologically it's the first book in the series. It's a weird thing. I don't know what the series and why it's been published weird, but it's what it is. So yeah, Mind by Mind, we're following different characters. Well, we have a different main character. We still have Doro. Ugh, I don't like Doro. I really hate Doro. And I think we had Mary was other. Oh, sorry, it's been a while now, but yeah, we had Mary as the protagonist in this one, and it was actually quite interesting. I didn't love it as much as I did Wild Seed, but I enjoyed it enough. I gave it like a 4.25 stars. I recognize that this series definitely has a vision, and I definitely see it taking a turn through the third book for sure. I need to consult my reading journal real quick. If you don't know, I do have a reading journal where I write all my reviews as I just read these books because otherwise I can't remember stuff. But yeah, I'm trying to remember what else. Yeah, it was Mary. That's the protagonist. Oh yes, being a parable. Right, that's right. Because Dora was trying to create a perfect telepath. Yeah, that was a whole thing. Yeah, and pretty much took a turn, let's just say, for the least. And I'm very much appreciative of the ending, I gotta say. Really appreciate the ending. Yeah, so right now I have the audiobook for the third book in the series, which is called Clay's Arc. I'm waiting for my shot to get to that audiobook. But until then, I'm away. So yeah, I give this one 4.25 stars. There's a lot of content warnings: child abuse, child death, incest, violence, death, slavery, domestic abuse, racism, racial slurs, emotional abuse, alcoholism, addiction, pregnancy, suicidality, sexual content, pedophilia, and toxic relationship. So yeah, fair warning if you ever want to read this series. Next up, I read The Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon, Volume 2 by Beth Brower. This installment I actually enjoyed quite a lot, not going to lie. I prefer the second volume than the first volume, and I also give it 4.25 stars. It follows off right where we left off about the financial advisor and Emma's finances, learning more about a Mr. Pierce. Let's see, learning more from the Duke of Islington, and something about a shady character making a deal, reading someone's journal. Yeah, there's some things that were going on. It's not a very plot heavy series. This is very much a character driven series, but I got to be more endeared with Emma as a character. And that's why I rated it slightly higher than the first installment. So yeah, really enjoyed it, and I plan to, and I did continue on with the series as well in January and February. Next up is We Could Be Rats by the Emily Austen. Now, this is an adult contemporary queer lit fic. I also borrowed it from the library, and I really, really love this one. It's not quite a 5-star, but it was very close. It was a 4.75 stars. This is a story between two sisters who pretty much have to deal with different ways of growing up. And it kind of put me through the ringer, not gonna lie. But it is very much heavy though on suicide, which is like suicidal attempt, suicidal thoughts, suicidality in general. So that is a topic that you cannot handle for whatever reason, then probably skip this one. But I really did enjoy this one. I even purchased a physical copy because I saw myself to reread it, and I think I will reread it. I don't know if I'll reread it this year, but it's definitely a book I plan to reread in the future. Yeah, there's also like diary entries for like the first half, and it takes a turn in the middle of the book. Like I'm telling y'all, that twist, man, it really, really shocked me. Some other content warnings: there's drug abuse, addiction, mental illness, homophobia, grief, death, from a drug overdose, sexual assault, domestic abuse, and forced institutionalization. Yeah. So yeah, it's a heavy book, but it does have that levity, that bright humor that Emily Austen has written before. So yeah, it's definitely a book I recommend. But yeah, suicide is definitely a topic that you're not in the headspace for. Definitely pass on this one. And then I read The Unselected Journals of Emma L. Lyon, Volume 3 by Beth Brower. Now, this one I pretty much gave a relatively the same star rating, 4.25 stars. I think it was pretty on par with Volume 2. More on Emma L. Lyon's daily life. Let's see. There's something about a play, the Shakespeare play. in this one, and the drama just to even get the tickets and what happened afterwards. It was a whole thing. I gotta say, I really like this installment. I think volume 3 is so far my favorite installment. Because of all the drama that happened in this one. Yeah. And I did hope for also some more plot for the future volumes. Hopefully so. We'll have to wait and see on that one. And in these series, both of the volume 2 and 3 have relatively the same content warnings: sexism, misogyny, death has been mentioned, war has been mentioned, and emotional abuse as well. And then last but certainly not least, the final book that I finished in January is Birth of a Dynasty by Shanaza Bado. Now, this is a book that took me a long time to read. Like, I've been reading that book since I forgot when I started reading it, not gonna lie, but I've been reading it for a couple of months. It's the first book in a new trilogy. It's also a debut novel. It came out in 2025. I got it as an e-arc from the publisher and as an ALC. So y'all know I was locked in. And I was really locked in because I practically loved it. It was also a 4.75 stars. And I think this is objectively the best book that I read in January. Even though We Could Be Rats and Birth of a Dynasty have the same star rating, I do use a Cawpaw rating system. And the numbers on that one is higher for Birth of a Dynasty than We Could Be Rats. So this is an adult fantasy that deals with prophecy and chosen one story tropes. And those are not really the kind of tropes that I really like, but I love that this book handled the prophecy trope way more interestingly than any other book that I've read previous fantasy books I've tried to read with prophecy tropes in them, because this is slow paced, is character driven, and also has multiple perspectives as well. And I love that. I really, really love that. So I can get a better sense of the world. There's a really good political intrigue. I don't know. It was just really, really good. And as far as content warnings, violence, murder, death, war, gore, child death, slavery, rape, classism, physical abuse, and torture. And I'm so excited for book 2. I'm like, I need book 2 to come along. Like, book 2, let's go. Like, author, give me the announcement for book 2. I need it like now. But now let's get into the books that I read in February. First up is Amari and the Middlework Menace. Apologies, y'all. I just had to check on the dog to make sure that he was not putting anything in his mouth that he ain't supposed to. Yeah, I'm looking at you. He's like right over there. Y'all won't be able to see him, but it's fine. That's what happens when you're watching a dog. Anyway, so Amari and the Middlework Menace. This is the 4th book in the Supernatural Investigation series. I got this as an ALC from the publisher. So thanks to the publisher for access to the ALC via NetGalley. And I did really enjoy this one. I didn't love it as much as like previous installments. I just think that this particular installment had a little bit of a different focus. And it makes sense because Amari was dealing with the aftermath of the events of book 3 that was traumatizing to her. And I still think this is a really good installment thematically, especially for Amari's character. But I just felt like that the side characters kind of took a step back. We got a new character to focus on, and I think their character was definitely interesting. But then there's this other character that was doing some things, like more like a villainous character. And there was just, I can't really, I don't want to speak too much on it, but it was a thing. It did make me rate the book a little bit lower, was the way that this particular villainous character and like the actual character work with him, it felt like we were missing pieces to it. And I get it for like time reasons why it was like that, but also not a fan of that. But I think Amari, the amount of grief that she felt and experienced and had to deal with was very realistic. Middlework Menace as a villain was also intriguing as well, because it pretty much spreads to different beings and they turn them into metal. So I thought that was really, really cool. Yeah, there was just a very particular thing that happened with a character and how that related to one of Amari's friends that I particularly was not a fan of, that I couldn't really rate the book any higher. But as a middle grade contemporary fantasy novel, it is still really good. It definitely ended with a very rough cliffhanger. I also thought that the cliffhanger, while it was indeed intriguing and definitely made me want to read the next book whenever that comes out, I do think it kind of came out of left field. I don't think the setup for such a cliffhanger was properly set up, so that also brought down my rating to basically a 3.75 stars. I really wanted to give it a 4, but I just couldn't give it a 4. I was like, nah, all these criticisms that I have of it just can't, I can't give it that. So, yeah. A little bit unfortunate, but it is definitely worth the read. It's still worth reading. And I definitely am looking forward to the 5th installment. I don't know if the 5th one will be the last one, but the way that this cliffhanger has set up, it does feel like the 5th book should be the final book. But then again, that's just my assumption. Who knows about that? Only BB Alston knows that one. Next up, we have Blob, a love story by Maggie Sue. This is a book that I also read for the Interstellar Book Club. I think this was the January pick? No, this is the February pick. My bad. Because Mind of My Mind was the January pick. Blob is the February pick. We don't have the live show isn't available yet for Blob, so that's I'm like getting confused. This is a weird book. This is an adult contemporary magical realism story about a Taiwanese American woman named Vi who goes to this bar and she's dealing with like heartbreak because her ex-boyfriend dumped her, and she found like this blob that literally looks like a blowfish. If you don't know what a blowfish looks like, please do look it up, because I genuinely had no idea what this blowfish looks like. And I learned something new, okay? Because I don't even understand. But regardless, she takes this blob thing home with her, and it's sentient and starts to transform and turn itself into a man, into specifically a white man. And yeah, honestly, I don't really remember much about Blob. I remember enjoying it more so than any other of the book club members. It's for anyone who's actually read the book and for the book club. I didn't rate it highly though. I gave it 3 stars. Mostly because of the fact that it is a weird story and it does have an unlikable female main character. And I found the unlikable female main character interesting. I think Vi was an interesting character, but not as well explored as I've hoped for. And Bob the Blob was also not really explored as much as I hoped for either. I genuinely really wished that we got more of Bob. I thought there was not enough weirdness to it. Definitely more the magical realism realm, sure, but like I wanted it to be more weird. I kind of wish it had a little bit of a horror tinge, but that's just my preference there. And honestly, I don't really remember much of the plot. It was very character focused, so if you don't like the main character, I mean, sucks. But I think the main character, as a character to follow, was interesting to follow. It's just unfortunate that I don't find the book as memorable, and I give it 3 stars. And I think I'm one of the only people who really rated it even close to that. I don't know. We'll have to wait for the live show to be sure. But yeah, this was honestly the lowest rated book of the month, and so far this year. So far the lowest rated book is a 3. And as far as content warnings, we have alcohol, racism, racial slurs, vomit, alcoholism, toxic relationships, sexual content, confinement, mental illness, fat phobia, eating disorder, homophobia, and outing. Yeah, there is a talk about an eating disorder. So just to let you know, and references to fat phobia. And there's definitely mental illness and mentions of confinement. I'm really glad I wrote down those kind of words, because it's now making me realize a little bit of the terrible thing that this man that Vi was doing to Bob the Blob. Yeah, it was a lot, but also just not as memorable as I thought it was going to be. Not gonna lie, kind of sucks. Next up, we have the Unselected Journals of Emma L. Lyon, Volume 4. Yes, I managed to read 3 volumes of this series so far this year, and I got to the 4th volume by Beth Brower. This one was honestly a letdown of an installment. Not much really happened, not even like character-wise, character hijinks. I think this installment was one of the shorter ones. It wasn't as short as like volume 1. It might have been just as short as volume 2, but I found volume 2 to be more intriguing since at that point we were getting more from Emma as far as what was going on with her life. I think in volume 4 was just less eventful. It's only for the months of September and October of 1886. So I guess not much was really happening. And we had so much drama that happened in volume 3 that I really thought we were going to get a lot more, or maybe something else interesting. But I guess volume 4 was just a break for after all the drama from volume 3. So volume 4 was less drama. But it did pique my interest a little bit when we got towards the end because an old flame of Emma's, we finally get to know some more things that happened to him. And Emma was dealing with a lot of grief. And it was really nice to see her be supported emotionally and to help her get through it all. And she did form a found family. And I was really happy about that. I was like, okay, well, there's something nice about that, but it's something memorable at least for this installment because there are multiple installments. So I'm trying to keep track of what's going on in each installment. But this one, none is memorable except for the whole grief part, which is towards the end. Besides that, this one's okay of a volume, but I did give it about a 3 stars. So it is the lowest rated installment for me so far. I hope we only go up from here because I don't want to go back down again. This was a good installment, but I don't think it's as great as so far as I've been reading before. All right, the dog here is just sniffing around, seeing what I'm doing. Archie, yes, you want me to pet you? Yes, he wants me to pet him. So let me just give him a nice little bit of attention here. Yes. All right. Okay, I guess he was done. I guess he wants me to be done. Anyways, next book, and this is the last book I read in February, and the last book I'll be talking about is Funny Story by Emily Henry. I did manage to read another Emily Henry book, which I didn't really think I would have, not gonna lie, because the first time I read Emily Henry was like, ooh, it's actually been now nearly 5 years now since I've read an Emily Henry. The first one I've read actually was People We Meet on Vacation. It was just of a movie, and we're going to talk about that movie later. And Funny Story was her second to most recent book she's published. I think Funny Story came out in 2024. I know she has another book. She had another book that came out in 2025, and I'm not going to read that one, okay? Funny Story was the only Emily Henry book that I was even remotely interested in. Only because of the fake dating aspect, and also for the fact that the two main characters that we'll be following had their exes broke up with them so that those exes can get it with each other. So it's very weird. So we have Daphne, who was dating, actually she was engaged to a guy named Peter. Those two were engaged. And then Miles was dating Petra. Now here's the thing, Petra and Peter broke up with Daphne and Miles, and then Peter and Petra got together and decided to get married. They even sent Miles and Daphne a wedding invite. Like, what the actual hell? Like, when I found that part, that's how Daphne and Miles started to become roommates, because, well, Daphne and Peter lived in a house and Peter kicked her out so that Petra could move in. It was a whole thing. And I was like, oh shite. Like, child, I was so upset for Daphne and Miles. Okay. I was like, Peter and Petra, y'all punk ass bitches. How dare y'all? I was so fucking mad. And yeah, this is indeed I've been kind of more used to adult contemporary romances with multiple POVs. So it was kind of it took me a little bit to really get into like reading only through Daphne's POV. I would have loved Miles's POV, not gonna lie, but also I don't think Emily Henry is that kind of author. I think if she did try to write Miles's POV, it would not be well written. So probably for the best that we only got Daphne's POV. But I still enjoyed it though. This was the highest rated book of the month. I gave it 4 stars. I don't think I could have given any higher than a 4 because again, it's not DL POV. And I also thought Miles's character development there wasn't much growth for him. Even though he was a good guy, he had flaws. but I don't think he had substantial character growth, unlike Daphne. Like, Daphne felt like a really real character to me. Miles as well, but since I didn't get much of his perspective, or he didn't show as much of a growth like Daphne, at least in mindset and stuff. It just wasn't apparent to me. And I think I just really related to Daphne as a character. I like that she's a librarian. I had noted that she was a librarian, so that was really, really cool. And yeah, I think that the romantic relationship, the romantic development between Miles and Daphne was very real. It was very charming, very cute. And yeah, although I will say though, I was really mad about the third act conflict, because the third act conflict was very dumb to me. It was actually pretty dumb. Like, I don't understand why that one thing had to happen that led to a miscommunication. I'm just like, why? Like, this is how you're gonna set it up for them? Seriously? This is how you're gonna do it? I don't like that. Like, I really, really did not like that at all. So that was irritating. But regardless, though, I did really enjoy it. I did also originally borrow it from the library as an ebook, and then I purchased a physical copy because I knew I was going to really enjoy it and want it on my shelf. And I was right. So now I have it on my shelf. And that's the last book I read in February. Now let's get into the movies that I've watched. It was not a lot. So basically, for the past couple of months, I managed to watch book to film adaptations. It was not purposeful. I did not intend to only watch book to film adaptations, but that's just the way that the cookie crumbled. So first up on the topic was People with Me on Vacation. It was the first movie I watched, and it's available on Netflix. And I will say that I enjoyed the movie as much as I did the book, and I rated both the movie and the book the same, 3.5 stars. I think the rom-com of it all is very much on par, like the book. The character, the actors' chemistry on screen, I think, really helped a lot of what was going on. And yeah, I just wasn't really here for Alex and Poppy as characters or much of their romantic dynamic, because like it's a friends to lovers tale, and I have learned that friends to lovers doesn't really work for me, or at least this version of friends to lovers that Emily Henry has set up was not it for me. I didn't really care for it, but I still like the rom-com vibe, so it's a 3.5 stars. I think it's good. It's definitely people who probably have reread the book or read the book first and then watched the movie right away will have different feelings. But since I'm so far removed from the book to the movie, that like I kind of enjoyed it more, I guess, than if you were to read the book. But that's just the way it is when it comes to book to film adaptations. They can't have everything. Certain things have to get cut out. Certain things get translated a little bit better on screen than anything else. But yeah, I think it was a good movie. It's a solid enough adaptation. I just didn't care for the book like that, and the movie didn't sway me to care much more. So yeah, I did debate on rereading the book, but I'm glad I didn't. Then I watched Dogman, which I also watched on Netflix, which was made by DreamWorks, and I never read the books as a kid. And not gonna lie, I see why I never read the books as a kid, because I was not here for the humor. Then again, it's definitely meant to be more of a younger audience, but I did watch the Captain Underpants adaptation, and I really like that one. But then again, I read the books, so like I had a nostalgia to it, so I should keep that in mind as far as my bias. But I also felt like Dogman as a movie just was very vignette-y to me. Like, I feel like there were certain parts I was like, oh, this could have been its own movie. This other bit could be its own movie. The other bit could be its own movie. I don't know. I was like, we could have had 3 different movies in one in here, and I just could not care any less. I thought also the movie was just too long. For what this is, it was too long. Truly too long. But I will say that saving grace for this one is Pete, who is the cat there, and then little Petey. So, yeah. Those two were cute when they were together, and along with Dogman. So, yeah, I gave it 2.5 stars. It was mediocre. I don't think I'm really going to remember it. And I didn't even write a review in my reading journal because there's just no way. Then last but not least, we have Mr. Malcolm's List, which is also available on Netflix, but I actually borrowed the DVD through my library. This one, This one's also an adaptation, and I never read the book. I didn't even know actually that it was an adaptation of a book until the end credits. So that was interesting, that's for sure. This one's basically about Mr. Malcolm, who is a young bachelor. He's wealthy, and he goes on like this date with this young woman, and she felt slighted because, like, I don't know. I think there's some gossiping between the two of them, like, oh, that he shunned her or something, and like got into like a some sort of newspaper. There's like this caricature between the two of them, and like the woman was, of course, bashed more than the man. Misogyny for you, and like the young woman found out that he has a list for like the perfect wife or the perfect partner or whatever. And so this young woman enlists her childhood friend to basically pretend to be this ideal woman for this man, and then break his heart with like he doesn't meet her requirements with this list. It's really dumb to me. And I don't know, the Mr. Malcolm was supposed to be seen as arrogant, and like I didn't really find him to be arrogant. Now, granted, having a list of like your ideal partner, I know definitely can hurt the ego, but also I'm kind of just like, about it. I don't know. People have their own opinions about this whole list thing and having expectations and standards and all that. Now, as far as having a woman that fits all of those expectations for his list is definitely not the most ideal, but I do think that having a list of expectations is fine. I don't know. I just didn't really care for this one. I didn't care for the chemistry. To me, was not really on par. I didn't really care for what was going on, and I kind of got a little bit distracted by the costuming choices a little bit. Like, I don't know, it was giving me Persuasion vibes, and I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot have this remind me of Persuasion 2022, because this movie also came out in 2022. So that really did bore me. And yeah, I did not care for this one like at all, and I gave it 1.5 stars. I think it's really worth a 2 star, but I'm leaving it at 1.5 stars because no, I did not care. I didn't care. I think it was dumb. I even zoned out for like the last 20 minutes of the film. And I don't think I really missed a damn thing. It was so not memorable to me. So I don't really recommend Mr. Malcolm's List. And I don't even think reading the book first would have helped anything. Honestly, I don't think reading the books for any of these films really would have helped. Well, maybe People with Me on Vacation I could have reread, and then I probably would not have liked the adaptation as much. So yeah, Dogman. I mean, I don't know. I think Dogman, this movie, is a combination of multiple books of this series, because it's just like Confidant Under Parents with having multiple books. So yeah, did not care, and that is the end. In conclusion, I read way more than I thought, and I watched way less than I thought. I really thought I would manage to watch more, read less, but I ended up flipping it, reading more, watching less, because I didn't really watch much TV shows. Honestly, I just watched more of Abbott Elementary season 5, and that was kind of it. Nothing else. So that's why there's no TV show slide, because there is nothing else to talk about with that. But yeah, y'all, that is pretty much it. That is all the media that I have consumed for winter 2026. Thank you all for watching this. I hope you all enjoy this format, because I think I'm going to continue on with this format for the rest of the year, even when I have breaks and stuff, because this is just a better way for me to talk about the media that I consumed without having to worry about editing, just the way that it is. And yeah, if you like it, like this video, comment down below in the comments the media that you've consumed: books, movies, TV shows, music, podcasts, musicals, I don't know, whatever, just whatever. I would love to know how January and February treated y'all. I do know that is indeed a very scary time. I also do have resources in the video description down below as far as supporting those who are dealing with the ICE riots and stuff in Minnesota. If you don't know, I do live in Minnesota. ICE is still here, just to let you know. They're still here. They're still kidnapping and abducting people, and arresting people. That is still happening. It's just that they're doing it discreetly, so it's not like making national media anymore. But it is still a very prevalent thing, and I do know that this is still prevalent as well other places. But they're still around here, y'all. So gotta keep vigilant. But I do have resources down below if you want us to support anyone who's been affected by the trauma that ICE has conducted onto everyone around me. So yeah. Again, thank you all for watching this video. Like if you like it, comment down below your thoughts. And you like the video, you like the vibe, you want to see more content from me, even though not as much I'm posting. But hey, I'm still trying my best here. I do recommend subscribing if you have not done so already. Now, you made it this far in the video, you're not sure what to say, but you want to leave me an emoji to let me know that you're here. You gotta leave me some sort of snowflake emoji because we did get a lot of snow, and I know other places have been getting more snow than Minnesota right now. So yeah, let's do some snowflakes. Anyways, thank you again for watching this video, and I hope to see you all in my next one. Bye. And there's the balloons.